E.T. by Atari is widely regarded as one of the worst video games ever created. Based upon the wildly popular film by Steven Spielberg, it was made in under 6 weeks by a single developer working on hardware that was, by 1982 standards, utterly archaic. The Atari 2600, the console in which the game was released, had just 128 bytes of RAM. Not 128 kilobytes of RAM, 128 bytes. Building the game on such notoriously underpowered hardware at such ridiculously short notice was a catastrophe. $20 million had been spent by Atari on acquiring the license to E.T., but only $200,000 were ever invested into the actual development of the game, which was shipped in vast numbers. At least 4 million copies of E.T. were manufactured, and though the game was initially a commercial success, selling upwards of 1.5 million copies, it left a vast unsold inventory which Atari eventually shipped to a landfill site in Mexico. The burial of hundreds of thousands of unsold E.T. cartridges was bad enough, but the game's quality was so notoriously poor that the real damage was caused by the copies which were actually sold. The game found its way into 1.5 million homes in time for Christmas 1982 and, in so doing, helped to sour the American public's taste for video games, proving that a well-loved brand was no guarantee of quality. E.T., alongside several other notoriously bad Atari 2600 games from that same era, was an advertisement for why people should not want to play video games, and, in 1983, the market for computer games in the United States collapsed. To be sure, Atari was not the only company responsible for the market crash, but it was a massive contributor. By 1985, the value of video game sales in the United States had declined from several $billion to perhaps $100 million, as consumers across the country lost trust and interest in the medium. E.T., for all of its hype and initial success, practically destroyed the video game industry. E.T. was the anti-Pong. Other than being a footnote in pop culture and business history then, where does all of this leave the notoriously bad E.T.? Is it as bad as its reputation would have us believe? Is it really the worst video game ever made? Well, the simple answer to that question is no. In spite of the fact that it was rushed to market, and that it is marred by some terrible design choices, Atari's E.T. possesses a degree of charm, particularly when its 6-week production cycle is taken into account. Granted, you have to look quite deep to uncover the charm, whilst forgiving some pretty significant flaws, but as a piece of retro Americana, the game does not lack appeal. The gameplay revolves around E.T.'s quest to assemble the phone that will allow him to phone home. In order to accomplish this, the titular character is able to move around a type of low-resolution, quasi-open world. Players are forced to go in no one particular direction, though there is very little variety and little to see wherever they do decide to go. As the player explores the world, they find themselves chased by government agents and other adults, though the real threat they face comes from the game's bugs. The map is littered with pits wherein the pieces of the phone are to be found, but falling into such craters is as much a matter of chance as it is a matter of design. Once in a pit, players must extend E.T.'s neck to ascend upwards, but might well find that they have become snared in a pit loop, immediately falling back into the same hole from which they've just emerged. Sometimes these loops can be broken, and sometimes they can't. To make matters worse, players find themselves falling into pits for seemingly no reason at all. Passing from one screen to the next, players will inexplicably find themselves at the bottom of a crater, forced to monotonously ascend whilst clinging to the hope that the game does not immediately cast them back down. It is an infuriating experience that brings to mind the market crash that the game helped to precipitate. But for all that, there remains something here, some kernel of a great idea marred by the technical limitations of the hardware upon which it appeared, and the punishing timescale in which the game had to be made. Graphically speaking, the game is intensely basic and in places disastrous, but there is something retroactively compelling about the way that E.T., or the agents who chase him, were realised and animated. The world they inhabit is so plain as to be almost utterly unremarkable, but the character models, 8-bit distillations of much more complicated designs, have a certain je ne sais quoi about them that is a credit to developer Howard Scott Warshaw. Of course, admitting that E.T. possesses charm does not equate to saying that the game can be described as fun in any meaningful way, and there is a fair argument to be made that if a video game was not an enjoyable experience, it cannot be appraised positively. Viewed in such a light, Atari's E.T. does not fare well, but despite its own shortcomings, and there are many, there is something about the game today that entices. Perhaps it's the emphasis upon exploration, the way that the game shuns violence, a consistent go-to theme and mechanic from an early stage in the medium's history, or the way its clunky graphics succeed on the margins even as they fail overall. Perhaps it is the sense that this is a game that crosses the line from bad to so bad it's good, a truly rare occurrence in an interactive medium, where bad tends to mean really bad. Whatever else can be said about E.T. though, it possesses a distinct character all of its own, and that counts in its favour. E.T. is never going to be considered a good video game, but as a piece of disposable pop art over 30 years after its initial release, it might just have come into its own.